There we go. Welcome, everyone. This is Karen Richardson. I'm the Executive Director of the Virginia Society for Technology and Education. I hope everybody is having a terrific Digital Learning Day 2017. I know I am. We've been featuring folks from across the state today talking about technology, and so we're excited to welcome our next guest. Bobby Keener is the Chief Technology Innovations Officer for the Virginia Department of Education. He wears lots of hats, as far as I can tell from working with him at the DOE, lots of projects that he's working on, and he's here today to share some of those with us. So, Bobby, take it away.
Hey, everyone. Thanks for having me, Karen, and thanks for anyone watching this for having me as well. Just to point out, I am actually using YouTube Live with Karen and some folks, and this is, while I have used it before, other technology that hopefully will get into the classroom, and hopefully some teachers and kids will see this, and they'll do some similar things to what we're doing today. With that being said, Karen's spot on. I'm wearing many hats, and as the Chief Technology Innovations Officer, that was the intent. It was really to look at things in a different light and come at them from different angles. That being said, for me to be able to do that really requires engaging people like VSTE, engaging people like teachers, school division leaders, people from the Department of Education, private community out there. So in doing that, what I found is that a lot of great things are already happening, and a lot of great opportunities are already out there. Really to identify those best way possible, bring some of those together, and then help schools get exposure to them so that the kids can get the learning that they need. So with that being said, I do have some slides that I'm going to work off of, and they'll be posted along with this presentation. But without that, no further ado, I will move through them. I have to get them up, sorry. So my goal really is personalized learning. I'll be quick about it, but I went to a meeting, and I'm not classically from the educational industry. So my goal, when I went to Milwaukee to see what they were doing in some of the schools up there, I was watching a panel. The principal of the school was sitting on the stage, and as she was talking about what they were really trying to accomplish, she had a couple of teachers with her, and I shouldn't say that, because as she almost said teachers, she said, "Hey, I've got a couple of teacher," and then she stopped and she was like, student advisors with me up here. And I thought, wow, that's really interesting. And as she dug more into it, the idea was that she wanted the students' learning to happen in a way that fit them, that really allowed them to bring the best of themselves out. And the teacher role had almost been converted in many respects to not as a teacher, but as the title said, into an advisor role. And so now you looked at the students as individuals and said, hey, how can I use technology? How can I use all the other resources that are available and really bring out the best in that child so that they can have a real chance for success? And that's, for me, personalized learning, which is learn how you want, where you want, when you want. And that's a real key factor. I mean, that's the change in the classroom is going, if we don't do that, the reality is that we will fall behind everyone else in the world and folks that do that. So how do you get there, though? Well, if you want to learn how you want, where you want, and when you want, you got to have connectivity. So connectivity, otherwise known as infrastructure, of course, has got to be there both within our schools and our homes. Within our schools, we can put down things like fiber in the ground, and we can also have Wi-Fi in the schools with a real robust connection so that the students and the teachers and the rest of the staff can share data, that can access resources, they can socialize together in an online community with each other, but also with the external community. That we do need connectivity in the home. A little bit harder to get to and really to tackle, but we are looking at that as well. Once you have that connectivity, you then need to have the resources available to do something with that connectivity. So, a lot of folks, what I've seen is they move directly to devices and think devices are the end game. And the reality is they are the end game, but not by themselves. Understanding how we can utilize resources, how we can utilize that connection, how we can utilize those devices is key. And that's where things like open education resources and many other things come into play. So one of the programs that I have that I've been really pushing forward within the Department of Education is the Go Open movement. It uses these openly licensed educational resources and excuse me, I had something pop up on my phone there, but it uses these openly licensed education resources to allow students to access many different types of things in many different types of ways. So key components are that openly licensed means they can be shared, they can be changed, they can be put together with other resources and used in any way. But from a student standpoint, the real key is that if I want to learn about parabolas, you know, some people, they love looking at a piece of paper and saying, hey, I see the, you know, the graph and it's got the kind of curved line on there and here's how you do a parabola, and they learn that way. Great, no problem. And we don't want to take that away, and you can do that still. But some people learn better if they see Kobe Bryant shooting a three-pointer and they see a line that says, look, that ball makes a parabola and this is why. So those different types of learning, those, you know, visual learners versus the people that learn better when they actually have a piece of paper, those types of differences, if we can use something like OER where there are hundreds of thousands of resources out there and give them those different options and do it at a low to no cost, then that allows us to really get into that personalized learning space where now I can learn the way that's best for me, you can learn the way that's best for you, and then the other folks can learn the way that's best for them, but we're all learning at the core the same things. This is not to say we don't want, you know, we want to make sure that people meet a certain level. So in addition to that, what we're doing at the state is we're not going out and saying everyone must use OER and everyone must do this, must do that. Schools have a lot of choice and divisions have a lot of choice. Hey, man, the position that we are in is really leadership and a collaboration. So, hey, here's a good idea. We're going to help you if you want to go down this road. We're going to provide leadership. We're going to bring you in and make you part of the solution. And hopefully that will lead to school divisions adopting these types of things. With OER, we've so far had really good success. We have about 5 or 6 divisions that are actively participating in an advisory group that we host. We have a number of things that, or a number of other divisions that have reached out and said, I want to be a part of that. While they may not be a part of the advisory group, then in different ways, they're saying, I will devote teacher time to it if I need to. I will, you know, I will adopt some of the resources that you have put in worthwhile and bring them in and use them in my classroom. So we're getting a lot of participation, or a lot of interest in participating in this movement. And I think that we will continue to see that grow more and more. And within the next few months, there will be a fairly good announcement, superintendent's memo, the like, that will come out about this, talking about some of the great places we've gone. But also, collaboration just doesn't happen with school divisions, as I mentioned earlier. It happens on a national level, other states, so we can bring in their materials as well, so that our school divisions in Virginia can take advantage of some high quality materials that California, Georgia, Massachusetts, whoever it may be, that they've developed, they've curated, and then we can look at and go, yeah, that is a great resource. Why don't we use it too? So really opening up the doors to what's available to our students so that they can learn is a key component. Additionally, as part of that is that these resources are presented in a way that are small enough that you can put them together in many different ways. We all hear about project-based learning, but there is no project-based learning textbook. There's a math textbook, there's an English textbook, there's a world history textbook. There's not a project-based learning textbook. And the reason being is that if you're building a little bridge across the stream that runs through town as a school project, I don't believe you're going to find that textbook out there. But with open education resources, you can create it. And what I mean by that is that you can pull some resources in that have to do with engineering. You can pull some resources that have to do with finance together. Because you got to buy materials. You can bring some that have to do with project management. You can do some resources that have to do with team building. You can do some that have community outreach because you got to deal with the community on this. In a way, and there's tools that we are looking at the state level and within the steering committee. There are tools that you can bring those together where they really do look and feel like a textbook, but they're really a bunch of different resources that allow you to do different things. And say next year you go, hey, I'm going to build some cornhole boards in the park instead of doing the bridge across the stream because we did that last year. Well, maybe all you really have to swap out at that point is saying, well, how do we deal with, you know, the engineering aspects of cornhole boards? And I bet there's an OER out there for it, as opposed to building that bridge. So you swap out those few modules you need to swap out, and then you can keep moving forward. So, you know, just to make sure everyone knows as well with this. And I think you always need to understand what the challenges are so that you can overcome them. And the curation of these resources to make sure they are high quality is a challenge. We understand that. We are looking at a few different ways to overcome that, and I don't see that as anything that will hold us back. The other challenge that we look at is that teachers are busy people. They're already busy because they care about their job, they care about what they're doing, and they put a lot of time into it, and that's great. That's awesome for the kids. It's awesome for everyone. So for them to go out and actually take these hundreds of thousands of resources that I mentioned, maybe millions of resources, and cobble together into a project management course or even just an algebra course, that takes a lot of time, a lot of energy, a lot of effort. I would never expect every teacher to be able to do that. So as a whole, for us to be able to bring those resources together and give a starting point of a project management based quote unquote textbook, it's not really a textbook, but for us to do the Algebra 1 textbook or the World History textbook in OER and give them a starting point and go, you know what, I like this, but I really wish that those two things were a little bit different. Go in there, they can pull those two aspects of the or anything else out and swap it out for two other resources that they like better, that suits their kids better, that are also vetted, that are also good, that are still good resources. So, or maybe they just want to add more resources to it because they go, you know, I know there's a video out there that's awesome, so they can see it. So they can bring that in, and now they have that course curriculum outlined. We're in it a little bit different, but it still meets all the needs. But more importantly, it meets the needs of the students they're working with. So are the potential of digital learning, the potential of what I would like to call modularized learning. And open education resources is one piece of it. Of course, for, you know, if there's a great case study on Harvard Business Publishing and you want to bring that down, by all means, no one would ever say don't do that. But we got to understand that we also have a lot of resources that don't necessarily cost that $5, and let's figure out how to utilize those as well. So to be able to do these things, though, you have to have support. That's one thing I also wanted to talk about when we're talking about personalized learning and all this, is that the state has been great. I've been here about a year and a half. Again, I don't come from an educational background, really, from that community, from that industry. So for me coming into this, and that was purposeful, by the way, might I just say, but for me coming into this, I really wasn't 100% sure of what to expect. My personal journey through school was, while I had some great successes, at the same time, I didn't always enjoy myself. I'm just going to be honest. And I would imagine that anyone listening to this would feel the same. In fact, there were many times where I quite honestly couldn't stand school. And that's one thing we want to change, because if we don't change that, when they get done with school, when they get out of 12th grade, they're going to have that bad taste in their mouth that will carry them forward. They're also going to not have the skills that will allow them to go forward. We don't want that. So when I got here, I was very pleased to see that a large initiative, in fact, I would say the guiding initiative since I've been here, the profile of a Virginia graduate. So the profile of a Virginia graduate, to explain it very quickly, and I'm going to read from what I wrote up here, and this is my words. A PowerPoint, you'll see a link and you can get other people's words. This is my words, though I think it's important to speak from your own voice. It is really to meet the learning needs of all Virginia students and position those students to succeed in the next phase of their life's journey, college, career, and civic and life ready. And I want to point out that and for civic and life ready probably should be an or in some cases, because the reality is that everyone doesn't go out and get a career in the classic sense. Everyone doesn't go to college, and that's okay. We still want you to be life ready. You should be life ready. And if you're not, then we've not done our job, and we want to make sure that we do our job, if you will. But to get there, there are some critical things that factors, if you will, and they're called the 5 C's. It's critical thinking, creative thinking, communication, collaboration, and citizenship. I think when you say these things, they're pretty obvious, and you go, oh yeah, that's of course. But at the same time, saying them and really living up to that and making that at the heart of how students learn are different things. And what I have seen from the Department of Education, what I've seen from the community at large, not just the school divisions, but literally the private community, the nonprofit community, everyone likes this mission. Everyone believes in this mission. If you're a company out there, the reality is you want a great graduate, a better worker, a better employee. If you're a nonprofit out there, then you want someone who's ready for getting in and actually doing that mission-oriented stuff. It doesn't matter where you come from or who you are, you have a stake in students learning and being prepared after high school. So, and everyone sees that, and they're really participating. We're getting a lot of great collaboration out of that. So I'd like to mention, though, as part of this, to accomplish it, you got to embrace and promote the positive change. I mean, you can't, again, just can't talk about it. And that does involve engaging those stakeholders. But it also involves, title is Chief Technology Innovations Officer. And I like to joke that I'm the Chief Information Officer, the CIO, but on one hand, which I do that role, Technology Officer on the other hand, and I do that role, and never shall they meet, which is not how it should be. And I'm trying to bring them together closer, but sometimes that's how it is. And I think bringing those together to where we're really using technology in innovative ways, but also just doing innovative practices outside of technology, that is a key component to making this work. And that requires taking risks, smart risks, as I would like to put it. So if I take those smart risks, they are calculated, but at the same time, risks inherently have a potential not to succeed. Now, be careful of when you point that out to people, though, because not succeeding doesn't mean you failed. It just simply means you may have learned something and you succeeded on that front, but you didn't succeed on other areas. But that learning may allow you to succeed in the future. So we need to take those smart risks. We got to be willing to hit those bumps and figure out how to get over them if we're going to make any real progress. But we also need to support our teachers and our schools. And while learning is our goal, teaching is not our goal. And I know that doesn't sound good just saying it straight out, but learning is the goal. It's about the students. But to accomplish that goal, we really need teachers and schools that are empowered, that have the ability to do these things. And I think that is a huge component of this as well, is putting them in a position to succeed, whether it's professional development, whether it's just general support, just, getting them involved in other areas that they may not have been comfortable with before, but now they see it and they go, oh, I see the value. So showing that value, making that value proposition. And again, I'm going to always come back to it. You got to engage the students. I believe it from a work standpoint, but I also believe it from a learning standpoint. Learning should be fun. It should feel rewarding. It should feel engaging. It doesn't mean that every second of every day it's going to feel that way. But at the end of the day, you should be happy you learned something, and you should be happy the process you went through. There's no point in that not being that way. And I believe if you look at some of the things that are happening out there, teachers, students, principals, division, superintendents, they would all attest to that. A few examples would be the high school innovation grants, where we have a number of high schools that have gotten grants for planning and implementation around the state. One that's in my backyard, I'm in Richmond, is Code RVA. Starting up, sorry, my battery on my phone keeps coming up, so I apologize if I'm reaching out. But Code RVA, who's in my backyard, they are basically a coding high school. So they will go in, they will learn about computer science. They will learn, not just how to do it, but learn how to do it within a work environment, how to do it within a positive work environment, maybe better put. They're going to have folks come in to where they're doing real world projects. They're going to make a couple of bucks off those. The setup of the high school is going to be more of an open type format where they can have breakout spaces, but they can also sit in open space similar to an open work environment where they can communicate. They're going to have that opportunity to work with different companies in the region and deal with them. And at the end of the day, they're going to have that real world learning experience, one that's a very safe one. And we got to make sure it's always a safe learning environment. And they're going to have fun. They haven't started yet. They're going to start this coming year, but they're going to have fun. I will promise you that. And they're going to have fun because it means something. It'll mean something to them. That's why they're there. They will connect to it, and they've got to be connected to the learning for it to mean something. Some other things are like divisions. Divisions are already doing great jobs out there. I don't want to put it like, we're sitting up on the mountain here and saying, oh, look what we're doing great. Divisions are really leading the way on this. You have Henry County, you have Albemarle County. The Warrior Tech Academy at Henry County is just fantastic. If you get a chance to look it up, they have some great stuff online about it. Go look it up. The maker spaces that are happening out there are spectacular. I've got something called the Student-Led Ideation Challenge that sits in my shop that allows students to really look at real-world problems and figure out ideas that they find of how they can potentially at least start solving them. And that was born not out of my head; it was born out of something that was happening in Loudoun County that I said, "Man, that's great. Let's into the state as a whole." And while mentioning that, I think a key component of that one was the reason it felt right. But we all like data too. We all like to make sure that we understand that things that feel good don't necessarily always work, because it didn't just feel good. There was data that came out, national survey, that 8 out of 10 high school students said if given the chance to provide meaningful input on anything from terrorism to water quality, they said they believed they could meaningful input to help solve those issues if just given the chance. And so myself, in collaboration with some other folks, said, well, let's give them the chance. And I think it's been a worthwhile thing to do that. But other things that are happening out there too is that we got to remember that school doesn't stop when the bell rings from that last class. And I think if you're doing it right, it probably shouldn't stop when that bell rings at the last class. And in fact, maybe there shouldn't even be a last class. Maybe you've broken it up and now you're from here, you're learning from there. But those after school initiatives that keep kids engaged and allow them to do other things that are a little bit looser maybe than some of the are also very helpful. That we've done here, that the cyber summer camps, and those, we had approximately 700 students that participated in about 32 camps across the state. And it was a 2-week session where we had national cyber leaders from the federal government participating. We had the folks from the Department of Education participating, and we had brought together these camps, different divisions around the state. And these students, they sat there and they learned about cybersecurity. They learned people that were working in cybersecurity came and talked to them and actually answered the questions. In the class, they were participating. There were projects involved. There were field trips involved. And I was, while again, we hope everything's a great idea, we were all so happy when it finished up and we talked to the students, when we talked to the teachers who also learned a lot from this. And it was just the overwhelming consensus was, man, can we do that again? Please, please let us do that again. And it shows the power of bringing something in of where there was an interest out there, and that's where this came from. There was a strong interest out there, but there was just no really. And while we do have a cyber curriculum being developed and it will deploy next year, I believe that's great. But there wasn't anything yet, so we were meeting a need that was there. And there's other things like FIRST Robotics that are out there, the other STEM competitions, all kinds of different things. Cyber Patriot. There's all these things that happen in these clubs, these after-school groups, are important, and they really do go back to that, to bring it full circle. They go back to that personalized learning. It allows people to participate. I have 3 kids myself, and they participate in sports and all these other things. And my youngest, who's 7, he loves chess club, and he's not too bad actually. I'm kind of shocked sometimes. I got to stay on my toes more than I thought I would. And I don't think we will ever see those go away, and I don't want to ever see them go away. But we do need to understand that the world does have other things out there as well beyond the traditional clubs, and let's really also for student learning. And maybe we can have an electronic chess club. I don't know. If it works and people enjoy it, let's do it. But the idea is that we need to be innovative, we need to be thoughtful, but we need to meet the needs of learning for our students and give them an opportunity to be the best when they leave high school. So with all that being said, again, the PowerPoint is out there, and I probably hit on a lot that's not in there, and that's all right. I usually do. There are some links at the end of it, so please go check it out. And thanks for the time. I hope this was informational on some level. And sorry if I pointed at you too much because I was hitting things on the screen to get them out of my way. but thanks again for the time, and thanks Karen and Visty for having me.
Thanks very much. It was great to have you. I tweeted
Karen,
out.
I'm sorry. Do you mind if I ask a couple questions?
I was just going to say, Tim, I thought you might have a
Absolutely,
question, and I tweeted out a couple things as well. So go ahead, Tim.
Well, going back to the OER, the open resources, you said that we want to make sure these resources are high quality. Is it possible to build in a social aspect to that process? I mean, by that I mean, you know,
Hey, Tim, you're breaking up a little bit on me.
Am I breaking up? Uh-oh. Am I coming through now?
It was still a little broken.
Okay. Well, let me go back and start again.
There you go.
Okay. Regarding OER, and you said we need to make sure that the resources are high quality before we put them out there. Can you build a social process, social aspect to that process? And by that, I mean allowing teachers to make some judgments on the quality through some of the social media kinds of things that we have, comments, discussions, even voting, for want of a better term, I guess.
Yeah, and we've discussed many things like that, and there's a few approaches to how you vet those resources. We have some contracts with some folks where they do some vetting for some things we already have, and that's an opportunity. School divisions already go through adoption processes for textbooks, things like that, and while these are not textbooks, they are digital resources, a little bit different. Those adoption processes can, and should be looking at these types of resources as well. So that's another opportunity. But directly to your question, as far as the teachers, the consensus is from everyone I talk to are that these teachers are they are the subject matter experts, right? I mean, we put them in front of our children and we say, help them learn. And if we don't believe they're subject matter experts, we probably shouldn't be doing that. So while there are some things that kind of get the ball rolling, the hope is that we will get to that point to where we will kind of narrow the scope, if you will, of what to look at, but we still have to trust teachers to look out there. And Chesterfield County is probably a great example of that. They've used these open education resources in conjunction with a number of other free resources and paid resources for that matter for give or take 14 years now. They've done a great job at this. They're a national leader, and they're part of our group as well. They do exactly what you're talking about, Tim. They trust their teachers to go out to these sites. Now, they vet the sites, and they go, hey, you know what? We think this, OER Commons or whoever it might be is a great location. So we're going to tell you that's a great site. It's a legitimate site. But the teachers themselves then get to actually look at the resources they want to use. And there is some things out there, kind of, not to plug anyone in particular, but like you go buy something off Amazon and you hit, hey, this is a versus a 4-star versus a 1-star. Those that capability is also available on a number of the platforms that allow for OER deployment.
Sounds good. We have another guest in here.
Hello, Mark Saunders.
Hello, Karen.
They let you out of the Board of Education room, huh?
I'm all done.
Oh, great. Okay, good. Well, that's great because Bobby has just finished up and we can take a quick break here and then launch into it. But Tim, did you have any other questions for Bobby?
Oh, I got lots of questions, but we don't need to cover them here.
Good. Well, a couple comments. You talked about we lost Bobby's video.
Oh,
he's kind of frozen there, yeah.
Yeah, right. You talked about the fun and engaging part, and I was immediately reminded of Seymour Papert's famous comment about hard fun, that the kid who said it's fun, it's hard, it's logo. And so he was having a good time, even though it was hard. And we heard that today, I think, with every group of kids that we talked about in terms of programming the robots. They said our algorithm didn't work the first time. We had to try it again. It took a long time for us to be able to do that. And I think that's one of the lessons they're really getting as part of their robotics and coding is you got to do it. It doesn't always work the first time. No,
that's it. And they're not mutually exclusive. In fact, I would dare say that many times the most rewarding things are the ones that can be the most difficult, because
Right.
the effort you put in, you see a reward at the end of it. So I believe that hard and fun are definitely something that goes hand in hand in many cases.
Yep, absolutely. Well, thank you very much for coming. We really appreciate it. As you mentioned, the slides are included on the Digital Learning Day webpage at VSTE.org. We'll also put a link to them as part of the video archive for this. But thanks so much. We learned a lot today, and we're glad to see you. I think we'll probably go unlive here for a couple minutes, chat with Mark, and then we'll be back live for folks who are watching at 2:45 with Mark Saunders.
Thanks, Karen.